Hello, everyone. I'm Justine Pantelejeva. I'm a Riga City Councillor from Riga City, and I'm a member and politician from political party Progressive. I'm really happy to be here via a screen for you today and share my experience about bringing progressive change in the capital of Latvia. And I want to be really concise today and emphasize our biggest successes and things we are pushing forward since being elected and being the biggest coalition fraction in Riga City Council. Just shortly about myself. As I mentioned, I'm a local councillor in Riga. And Riga is the capital of Latvia, about more than 600,000 inhabitants. And Latvia is located in the northeastern part of European Union. And we are part of the Baltics, consisting of Lithuania in the south and Estonia in the north. My portfolio in the City Council consists of topics and priorities in city development, mobility, youth, public space, and metropolitan area sector. But besides that, previously and still, I am an activist on youth issues, environmental issues, urban planner. I'm professionally trained and worked as an urban planner in City Council before I was elected. And not to make everything about who am I about consisting of professional aspects. I'm a dog owner as well. Agenda for today, I wanted to emphasize, and as this is environmental equity series, I wanted to really share the things we are really proud of and the things we've pushed really through. Environmental justice, climate perspective, social justice, and corruption and environmental equity, where I want to emphasize how corrupt municipal agencies can not only impact in the financial perspective the city, but also how that really trickles down to people not being able to access nature, forests, and etc. Before, just a brief contextual info, we have two political realms that we are controlling. So we have in the City Council committees. As I mentioned, first two I mentioned, I work in City Development Committee and Mobility Committee. That it is not led by our by progressives, but we are leading politically Social and Welfare Committee and Housing and Environment. And the biggest changes that has happened here is where we have now politically leading, and I will share specifically what we've done on these topics. On the environmental justice, I want to emphasize three things. What we're doing on the climate side, what we are pushing on making our air quality better, and how we are doing it and achieving our goals by strengthening the public sector. So first of all, the climate neutrality was our political promise. We were the first ones and the only ones to actually put it in our program, that we want to be for Riga to become the first climate neutral capitals in the Baltic states. And because we did that, that was a topic in the election discussion. And that is, I think, one major step further before getting to work in the City Council, as it just brought media attention to this word, what could it mean, and gave us a platform to explain that. And now that we've been elected and the real work starts, but what we've done since then is start with continue the political ambition. For example, the mayor of Riga, Martin Štatis, joined Eurocities initiatives with other mayors for the cities to commit to higher climate goals through significant investment in public transport system, green infrastructure, and building refurbishment measures to improve air quality. So this is a kind of European level initiative that we continued on working on after the elections. Secondly, that was second thing we did was policy planning that really comes after doing the political statement. And we are in the final phases of detailing our SECAP, or the Sustainable Energy and Climate Action Plan, that is dictated by Covenant of Mayors, also a European initiative that cities can join to set the energy goals. And now after from 2021, it's not only energy but climate as well, as these two things really go hand in hand. And the action plan for 2030, with that we are aiming to redesign public administration to become climate neutral. So everything in our administration household of Riga City Council will have to be climate neutral, not to create broader impact. And one of the things that we are as an action, for example, is to reduce the climate energetic consumption in educational institutions in Riga. So all schools and kindergartens have to increase their energy efficiency levels. And by that, by the reduction of 20%, we can, on the other hand, we are helping the environment and reducing the impact we have on it. But when we talk about money, it's millions of euros saved, which means we can build more kindergartens. So environmental justice really is can and should be an opportunity to advance other issues in social sector and social services and educational services. What else we want to do with the action plan for 2030 is reduce again further the unnecessary usage of electricity in not only public sector but also for in the private sector, increase renewable energy portion in also from Riga. We have central heating agency, central heating municipal service that provides it, and still we have a big part of natural gas being from we're creating energy with natural gas. We are switching and decreasing that also, and working on decentralized renewable energy options for people, solar panels and etc. And one other thing that I want to emphasize is tackle, reduce energy poverty that we have, that is also a part of the housing crisis we have in Latvia, but also it's making sure that everyone can afford on the other hand, and have really good service of energy provision. And one other thing that I want to kind of add to here is one small things that we're doing to kind of create environmental equities. Just one small things we can do as a city is free taps, water-free taps in the city, in the parks. This is one of the things we talked about and also talked about in our campaign, that we want to have we have a centralized water system as well. And the water here is clean and safe to drink from the tap, and and giving access to everyone who wants it on a bigger scale is something we are working towards. And other thing is tackling waste issues. We've increased the recycled portion of waste, especially focusing on bio-waste share increase that really is not doing well, not we're behind the EU targets that we have to fulfill. And since last year, we've increased from 10 to 20% the recycled portion of waste in total. Just moving on, air quality action plan. This is something really comes hand in hand with the climate plan, but we have additional planning document that details which part of the which parts of the city have not a worse quality of air, and therefore we have like zones of divided Riga in air quality zones, and we have different restrictions in each and every one of them. One of the things that we are fighting with the regional and environmental ministry right now is controversial binding regulation that we did late last year, is that we want to limit, and not limit, but diminish individual natural gas boilers in the zone 1, which is the most part of this city center. By 2025, we don't give the licensing to install these decentralized individual natural gas boilers. And if you pursue with a license by 2024, you get the grant, get the access, and then you can put it in your property. But after that, we say that this is no longer a viable and affordable option for you, and you have to choose either to have an alternative decentralized version option, or you have to join the centralized heating services that city provides. And what this means is that by 2040 in Riga, we aim to have no longer this kind of heating technology installed in housing, in properties, because of natural gas. We don't have to explain natural gas is not only not sustainable, but also from Latvian perspective, it's a geopolitical issue. With the prices still going up, we've seen a really big increase in heating prices. So we're kind of in a crisis, really in a crisis right now, that people have to pay up to 40% that they did last year at this time, and it does put a lot of pressure on our families during pandemic as well. So this is something quite a lot of controversy, because we want to talk about the climate change and how we're going to tackle, but when it comes to change, it's really hard, because this is not something we have to this is not something we think is the only thing we have to do to move forward. We are doing other things, but this is one thing that really comes to the individuals and their investments in heating. So I move forward to social justice. This is also one area of a political oversight we have. And there are three things I want to share with you. One of the primary thing is that 10% of the whole budget of the city is dedicated to social sector, which is something has never been done. And before the election, I was still working in the city council, And when we worked with welfare department, their aim was to have this kind of percentage by 2027. But as we saw a change in political coalition, this has become a top priority. And it's simply explainable from our side. Progressives, this has been a top priority for us to increase social support, because timely support both solves the problems at their root and saves money for the society. It allows families to stay united and live a fuller, more independent life. Our goal in Riga is to create an effective safety net for everyone and for everyone who needs it. So at the end of the day, social services, good, affordable, accessible social services keeps you in workforce. We talk about families who some of the family members might, you know, happen to have any kind of unfortunate event, and we want to have be as supportive as we can, so that actually at the end of the day, the person who needs the help can get it. The medical health services and the support system and support services for people to stay in their jobs, to support their families as well. So 10% of the budget. One thing we talked about in the elections as well a lot, and the situation in Latvia is that social topics has never been a priority. And one thing is that one may have to explain it is that a lot of social workers in Riga, for example, would be applicable to get social support from this city. So they're from all the categories. A lot of them are in the need or are in the group in the zone of being the customers of the social services as well. We aim to change that. 10% of the budget means more increased wages, so that people won't be in the risk zone. And this year we want to we increased the price of the social services, that the price that we are going to pay for the social services. There are a lot of social service providers that are from the NGO sector, and that means that they get to get paid better, because they are the backbone of our social system in Riga, and they employ more than 2,000 people. So it's really important for them to really increase their wages. Secondly, it really means that we can open up new services. And one of the things we were really proud of, we've developed new social services for children with disabilities and their families. So we give allocated sum of money as a voucher system, that families with children that have disabilities can choose from social services they need. And we've increased this year the sum of the amount that they can get. And this support is provided for both children and their parents, so they can choose whichever the service they want, they need the most. And we tackled, we've included parents as well, because they're often the caretakers full time. Again, what I mentioned before, making social services available means that people can stay in their jobs and support their families. Sometimes you cannot do both, have children with disabilities and be full-time at your job. Secondly, what we did is new cooperation with the Ministry of Welfare. This is the first time this has ever happened, and we've with the help of the ministry, we've been able to construct a new group of apartment and daycare center in Riga. So different kind of social services focused on also focusing on housing, group apartment approach, and renovating existing social care centers, especially looking at family care, making more cozy and creating like family care approach. And then by that we would aim to improve the quality of life of seniors and kind of change the stereotypes of aging. So firstly, we aim to always invest in people, and secondly in infrastructure. Sometimes, usually it goes, we have to do the infrastructure and we don't invest in people. And last and third part of my talk today is consists of corruption, environmental equity. There are two things we've done. Good governance has been one of the top priorities for us, and we have a lot of municipal companies in Riga doing broad section of services. We have housing, we have, I will talk more on the Riga Forestry company. We have like broad set of companies. And one thing that we did is developed non-financial targets for each and every company. That means that they not only have to do and evaluate their financial targets, but also include non-financial targets that can include environmental, social, cultural aspects, considering the profile of the company, to innovation targets. Municipal companies is one of the best ways how to innovate, provide better, more resilient and reflective, inclusive products and services for our customers. And sometimes innovation, new technology really can save up money. Individual heating, counting technology, and etc. Cross-sectoral innovation. And the story I want to tell you is about Riga Forestry company. For me, it really kind of encompasses how, from one side, a broad spectrum of corruption, no responsibility can lead up to broad set of impacts to the society, to environment, and to our citizens in general. We have had an audit, like we are auditing our companies regularly, but from the last audit, we've fired 2 board members for their waste of several €100,000, and we've proceeded with criminal proceedings as well. And what they did was build educational facilities that was used for private use, and not used for their initial purpose. The building process of itself was extra expensive, not thorough, not really, not a good oversight of how the money was spent. Other thing that we saw as a mismanaged company was that the timber that they use, because our municipal companies, they have to earn money, and unfortunately this is some part of forestry, for Riga Forestry's company's aim. The timber that they produced was sold under the market price, which led up to basically losing money. What we've done, and when you look at the map, one thing really interesting is about this company is that Riga has forests around the city, not only in the city itself, but in the metropolitan area, which means we have quite like powerful tool to work with, to kind of work with the municipalities around us, to have a to increase the cooperation and talk about recreational space. I mean, we're not talking about only Riga citizens, really a metropolitan level. And we can talk about green corridors, about the biodiversity and environmental aspects of having a big structure of green capital. So what we did was have a new board and replaced the sacked board members. We did and re-evaluated the financial and non-financial targets. We've forbidden clear-cutting practices in forests, which was done until now, which is really bad forest management approach. From one side, you're clear cutting large zones. On the other hand, the old board was underselling the timber that they cut. So it's a lose situation. And we've changed that. We've forbidden clear cutting practices. We've zoned special recreation areas that should be prioritized for recreation for citizens to enjoy. So we have logging cut and reduced by 30%. And this really means more opportunities for citizens to walk, rest, and Latvian culture, we do pick wild mushrooms as well and berries. So you can really have the ecosystem services provided to you and have the access to it. So the story how mismanaged company can reduce the opportunity of not being able to access the educational facilities, the green classroom, we have it, the name of it. We change the practices. That the primary focus of forestry company is not only cutting, but when we cut the timber, it's in by the best forest management practices. We sell it at the most value, so it's the most value for our citizens. And at the same time, we do prioritize and value our forest as a recreational biodiversity, biodiverse green zone, green lungs of the city that will eventually really help us to meet our targets, climate targets as well. So this is basically it. I really wanted to have a clear three sectors that we've really worked on and achieved a lot, I think. And hopefully you enjoyed this small brief presentation from me. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me, have a follow-up on anything. But at the end of the day, we really have to have progressive politics. We have to have progressive politics, not only on paper, but in work and action as well. And we can see that it really doesn't, it won't get easier. The climate crisis, the housing crisis, I forgot to mention more housing crisis as well, is something that really, the longer we wait, the more painful, let's say, will be the political decisions. And even our experience when we start really early with decisions with the natural gas boilers, it still is not easy to convince everyone, other coalition parties, that we have to do this, and everyone is seeing only 3 to 5 year projection of political life cycle. So progressive change really is needed to have environmental justice, environmental equity, where we put the people and the commons in natural environmental commons in first place, and our policies follow. So thank you. It was really an honor, and hope you enjoyed it.